Hi everyone, Kelly Bear here. This is a continuation of the Neopagan November challenge set by the Sunshine State Witch, and I think I'm going to batch film another 2 or 3 videos, but just because I have the time currently this morning, and I have the energy, and anyone that has an energy limiting illness will know you can't always predict how you're going to feel, so I am aware that I may end up having a bit of a crash in the next few days or next week or so, possibly. So I thought, actually, rather than sort of banking on me being well enough or having the time, the spoons, whatever, the energy to be able to sort of film these in threes over the next few days or over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to just try and batch film when I'm feeling good. So again, you will see me in this outfit probably a few times, but yeah, it's just when I thought about it, I was like, actually that's a better idea. Anyway, that's by the by. I am now on to days 10, 11 and 12, and the prompts, I believe, are Spellcraft, Divination and music. I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head because I checked before I press record. So yeah, Spellcraft. Wow, where to start? Literally so many forms of spellcraft and magic from so many different belief systems and magical systems and cultures. The way that I work is quite stripped back and quite simple. I have done a lot of elaborate stuff in the past, but I found it not really my thing. I'm not a ceremonial magician. I'm not into grimoire or high magic, the magic that sort of, you know, I hate this whole definition of high and low. I know that high is meant to mean that it's you're working towards the betterment of yourself and sort of your spiritual awakening or integration of yourself or what have you, and that low magic is like, you know, just sort of firefighting and doing things that you want or need, you know, which whatever. But I've noticed that people have also sort of then decided that high magic means ceremonial and low magic means folk. For me, high and low denotes maybe the sort of intention or what you're using your spellcraft, your magic for. And even then, like, who's to say that, you know, doing a quick sort of protection spell or something for prosperity or something for to help the health of a loved one is like low magic. Like, anyway, so, but you know, we love a label, us humans, so I guess that's what happens. But for me, I tend to work quite simply. Things that I use are sigils, generally my own. I have been known to break out some sort of more well-known sigils and patterns. Petition papers, candles, as previously mentioned, herbs, oils, and I know that these have their own prompts later on in the challenge, later on in the month. Poppets and spell bags, all sorts of things. And then what I would do is I will take those elements and I will layer them. And actually I was listening to an episode of the Middle-Aged Witch podcast this morning whilst I was having my breakfast, and the presenter, I think it's Eli, she was talking about, it was actually about, what was it about? I think it was about spell bags. She did an episode on poppets and dolls, an episode on spell bags, an episode on candle magic. It's a really good podcast. I highly recommend it if you've not heard it before. And each episode is quite short, so it's like nice bite-sized episodes. Generally, I really enjoy long-form podcasts, but sometimes I just want something a bit quick while I'm having some breakfast or doing some chores or what have you. Anyway, again, distracted. I have a squirrel brain, and it tends to go on little side quests. And you'll either be down for that or not. So if you're not into rambling or distractions, probably not. My videos are probably not for you, to be honest. But yeah, she was talking about how when she does I think it must have been the one on candle magic, she likes to use candles. What she says, candles, oils, herbs and words, and she layers them together, and she goes through a process of how she would create a spell for prosperity, I think. Yeah, I think that was what it was. And I do the same. So an example I have here is a little spell bag that I've created. I don't mind showing it, but I'm not going to tell you what's in it or how I've made it, like how I've enchanted it. I mean, making a spell bag is quite simple generally in itself, and you can put as many steps into it as you want, but I'm not going to give you the specifics, I mean, of this spell bag, but I will layer things. So this would include a sigil that I've created for this purpose, or a couple of sigils. It could include herbs, it could include some kind of little talisman or charm. So I have a lot of charms. I'm looking over there because I've got like a container on my desk that's full of like a little drawer unit full of charms, and it's to do with my work and what I do. And so I might pick a charm that has something to do with the intention that can go in there. I might put a crystal in there. I don't buy crystals. I used to buy crystals when I was younger, and then probably around the early to mid noughties I learned about a lot of like the destruction and unethical mining practices, and just sort of really didn't feel comfortable buying crystals. So any crystals that I have are ones that have been gifted to me, or in the past sort of 15 years, or they are ones that I bought before I stopped buying them. And most of them tend to be raw. I'm not a huge fan of tumbled crystals or carved crystals, but sometimes I'll have like I had like little bags of chips of crystals that I'd had from years ago that I might put in here. I'm not a huge crystal user though, and yeah, you can put whatever you want in. You might want to put in, depending on the kind of spell you're doing, you might want to put some kind of personal effect of yours or whoever it's for, such as a piece of hair or nail clippings or whatever, you know, you do you. But yeah, and then so that's sort of layered up. I've picked herbs and I've picked charms or talismans, I've put sigils in, and it all sort of works together. Sometimes I'll even embroider something onto the little bag or the little packet that I'm making it in, or it can be folded up into, rather than a bag, it can be folded up into a packet to make almost like a little spell sachet. Loads of things you can do. And then, you know, you can then use incense and candles and all that in as a part of creating the spell. And then what I tend to do is I will feed my like items that I utilize. Like this is something that I carry on my person for certain things, for certain occasions, and you know, I will make sure that I'm feeding this. I treat it as an animate object almost. And yeah, and to make sure that it's happy and it's keeping to do its thing. Same with poppets. This is just a poppet that I made a few years ago, that I use again for certain things, and each little thing that's embroidered on it means a certain thing. This was created in a very elaborate Samhain ceremony that I did, ritual that I did 4 years ago now. So yeah, this is about 4 years old. So, but the great thing about poppets is, you know, this one's for me, and it can be used over and over again. I know Kellyanne Maddox has done some great videos about poppets actually, so always worth checking out Kellyanne. But yeah, so again, I don't mind showing you, but I'm not going to tell you about all of what's going on. It does smell so good. But I will use, again, same as this, depending, I will stuff it with certain herbs and personal effects. I do tend to, if it's linked to myself, I will use a bit of hair, my own hair, nail clippings, a little menstrual blood, a little saliva, that kind of thing, just to make it more potent. I know some people get a bit squicked out, but witchcraft is at its core transgressive and kind of gnarly, and I find it really funny when people go, ew, you use blood, ew, you use saliva. I mean, like, come on. If you want to create a witch bottle or a witch jar, you can get really gnarly with that. And the funny thing is, I guess, with witch bottles and witch jars, well, they were originally created to repel witches, and now witches utilize them for their own magic. But yeah, I imagine witch bottles, I don't know the full history of witch bottles, but I'm imagining that, yeah, people use them to protect themselves from witches. But I'm sure witches probably back into antiquity, enjoyed making thick spells using bottles as well. I mean, I'm looking over here because I've literally got some new empty jars, and I'm like, that I've just brought up from the kitchen because they've been washed and de-sterilized. I need to try and get the label off of this one though. This is one of my vitamin jars, but they're great because it's glass, it's got a metal top, and it's brown glass, so that's really good for like anything that might be exposed to sunlight, and keeping it fresher. But I was like, do I really need any more jars and bottles? Yes I do. So I've brought them up. I've washed them, I've brought them up. But yeah, I think it's like built within us. We all love a jar or a bottle, right? So I also use spell bottles, spell jars and things like that. So, and again, it's the same thing. You just pick the things that work, and you can anoint them with oils, and you can top them and seal them with wax, or there's so many things you can do. You can get really creative with it. And also what I tend to do, if I'm sitting down to do more planned spell work, more sort of intense spell work, I really enjoy having a tea blend that is going to sort of aid me in that working, or that's going to get me in a headspace for that working. Or if I'm doing something that involves then asking for guidance, maybe I'll do like a sleepy blend using things that would also traditionally associated with sort of visions and dreams, like mugwort. Do your research before you create or make yourself herbal tea blends, loose herbal tea blends. Please do your research. I will not be responsible for any misfortune that may befall you, or illness that may befall you, if you just putting random stuff into your body without checking first. But you know, that's a no-brainer, right? You would think, but the stories I've heard via witch talk, oh my goodness. So yeah, spell work, it's such a vast topic, and I've already spoken for 10 minutes, and I could literally go on for a further hour, but I'm not going to. I will spare your poor ear holes and go on to the next one, which is divination. My channel was initially started as a tarot channel because I love tarot quite a lot. I picked up my first deck about 26 years ago, and there's been times when I haven't read tarot. There's been times where I've had breaks from it. There's been breaks of several years where I've not touched the tarot, but for the most part it's been a pretty consistent thing, especially for the last decade or so. And my collection has grown from a handful of decks. I mean, I read with one deck almost exclusively for several years back in the day, because I didn't really know much about, I didn't know there were different types like Marseille and Smith-Waite and Thoth, and ones that just go completely off the I didn't know anything. I just bought the deck that I thought that was pretty, that was available to me in the shop, that mystery shop that I'd mentioned in a previous video, maybe, I don't know, or maybe I'm thinking of a different tag. Yeah, the rest is history. It's grown to over 150 decks at least, and that's including Oracle and Lenormand. I don't read Kipper, I don't read Deste, I don't read Minchiate, I don't read playing cards. I'd love to learn to read playing cards, but I've got enough going on in my brain box as it is at the moment with just those other things. But just to give you a tiny little slice, because I could not show you all of my decks, that would be bananas. But here is like my monthly case, which this used to be the case that I would put the decks that I'm using for the month in. And I still do sort of get an inkling to use, and if I get an inkling to use a different deck that isn't in here, I will just pull it out. I've got 2 big bins of decks over there, and then but it's also extended into a further box that I'm looking down at, which is really heavy because it's also full of decks, which I also pull from now. So. But I just thought I'd give you a wee look-see at some of my decks. I do also have a pendulum, a couple of pendulums. I have some runes, but I haven't worked with runes consistently for a very long time. I have some journey tokens created by Kelly Fitzgerald of the Truth in Story. I have my own charm casting kit that I've put together and that continues to evolve using charms that I get in for my work that I then like to add to my little charm casting kit. Actually, I'll pause and I'll just get that because it's a bit different. Hello. So yeah, this is a work in progress, but I've got this little like just cardboard box, and then it's just, I know what's going to happen, it's all going to fall out again like that like the incense burner thing situation the other day. I'm going to try not to do that. But it's got all sorts of bits. It's got like a little crossbones. And the great thing about this is you can pick things that resonate with you and you can make your own meaning. There's a really good podcast episode by the Placebo Magic podcast called Making Your Own Meaning or Making Meaning. I think it's quite a recent episode. That's also worth checking out. And he comes at it from a fully like atheistic standpoint as a magical practitioner, an atheist magical practitioner. But I really enjoy, I really enjoy his stuff. But yeah, so, you know, for example, I use this as X marks the spot because, you know, it's an X and it's bones and it makes me think of pirates and pirate maps. Like, it literally looks like a little, you know. I have a ring, a little silver ring for me, which obviously means commitments and things. And some of the things that I have are what would be the card associations in Lenormand. And I know this is how Kelly Fitz at The Truth in Story created her first charm kit. She basically made a Lenormand charm kit. So I do have some of that, like, you know, I've got an owl. And you can just, you know, I've got a little magnifying glass, which is one of the most recent additions to my kit. So this for me is like, especially if I'm casting onto tarot cards or oracle cards, wherever this lands, it's really good because it lands on like a specific detail. It's almost like it's highlighting that particular part of the card, which I really enjoy. So you just make your own meanings, right? I've got a little thimble that I've had since forever. I've got a penny. Actually, this is a 1 cent penny. It's not an English penny, it's an American penny. All sorts of stuff. I've got a die for, you can tie in numerology, and I usually associate my Marseille numerology associations with this die. I've got like a little magic wand and a little dagger. And I've got a little hermit's lamp for what is being illuminated, what needs to be, where are you, like, it's you just make your own meaning. I've got a skull, which I kind of associate with, like, you know, the same way as I would the death card. Loads and loads. Anyway, so I've got like a little bell. Loads and loads. Anyway, I'm not going to show all of them because I'll be here. Maybe I'll do a video where I show it, but I'm still working out how I use this and adding charms and taking away charms. It's a work in progress, but it's been really fun. But yeah, this is like what I've got pulled out for the time being. Because I did have all of my spooky and creepy and dark decks out because it was Halloween, it was October, it was spooky season. So some of them are still out. I've still got my Spooktacular Lenormand by Wandering Oracle. Unfortunately, this is out of print, but someone very kindly gifted this to me. I have my Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, which was the second deck that I ever bought. I have the Wooden Tarot in here, which I love. It's such a wild deck. I have my Triomphe della Luna Paradoxical Rose, which is my favourite version of the Triomphe. And again, someone very kindly sent this to me. I traded it for a couple of tarot pouches that I made for their decks. Jamie, thank you, love you, shout out to you. Here's my Monster Lenormand by Jess Roller, who has her Squid Cake Marseille has been picked up mass market. So congratulations to Jess, that will be out next year. I have the indie version, which was sent to me by a lovely lady, and I think I'll probably pick up the mass market version as well, because more is more. But yeah, this is a really cute, just black and white Lenormand. I believe Jess did a full colour version of this, but I really like just the simple black and white, and I made this little monster pouch to go with it. So yeah, I make pouches for tarot decks. That's part of my biz. It's my Smith-Waite Centennial is in there. So yeah, I've got the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, which I kind of read like a Lenormand. Yeah, there's loads in here. I've got my Tarot Classic, which is a beautiful vintage copy, a 50-year-old copy of a Marseille deck. It's not a true Marseille, but I love the colours. It's got the most beautiful sort of jade green and magenta and turquoise. Oh, yum. So I picked out all the colours from the deck and then put them into this pouch so that I know. I sort of tend to make the pouches to match the deck so I know what, and add a charm that makes me know what deck is inside. That's how I do it anyway. So yeah, I have a lot of tarot decks and I love them, and I could talk about them all day. It's another topic I could just talk another hour about at least. Again, I won't, but if you're interested in more tarot talk, I have almost 7 years worth of videos you can go back and have at it. Knock yourself out, not literally, you know what I mean. Go nuts for donuts, enjoy. Or don't, I might not be your cup of tea, and that's okay too. What is it Dita Von Teese says? You could be the sweetest, juiciest peach in the world and there'll still be someone who doesn't like peaches. I'm not saying I'm a peach, I'm more of like a mouldy apple a lot of the time, a poison apple. Can you tell I'm just a little hyperactive today? I just, yeah, I have days where I'm a little more hyper than others. I'm sure most people are like that, but it's because I was just up and at them this morning. I've just not stopped, and I'm just trying to keep that momentum going. I will 100% crash at some point later today, but I do have D&D tonight, so I'm hoping I don't crash before my game. I'm looking forward to that. We are playing a Netherdeep campaign for those of you who enjoy Critical Role. That's a little Critical Role campaign. Yeah, and then I have my current tarot journal. I've had many iterations of tarot journals over the years. I've had really fancy ones. I've had really, like, I've just used scraps of paper. I've done all sorts, ring binders, but at the moment I just have a spiral bound notebook, which is getting pretty full at this point. And it's just because the journal I think I had before this was quite over the top, and it was a barrier to me sitting down and writing out about, just sort of journaling about my tarot readings, and I was having to like paint and decorate and stickers and washi. It was almost like those over-the-top bullet journals and planners, and it was just, sometimes I was like, I just don't have the energy. And so, you know, I'm sure people can relate, a lot of witches also love stationery. I'm not alone. I'm also an artist, so, you know, witch plus artist equals obsessed with stationery. And I had a stack of notebooks. I just grabbed this one because it's got my initial on it. It's not really my style. My lovely aunt bought it one Christmas for me a couple of years ago, bless her. But you know, it'll do. And I'll just show you. I keep it really, really simple. And I just throw it in. I don't worry about how crap my writing is. And then what I'll go do at the end of the week or at the end of the month, I'll literally get some highlighters and I just go through with little bookmark, go through and like highlight bits just to make it look a little cuter, or highlight bits to stand out. Like I'll go and reread things, and I always leave a little bit, so this is the thing, leave a little bit for reflections to come back, especially if it's like a weekly or monthly reading. Yeah, that's also how I utilize. And I used to like journal back in the day, in the noughties and the 90s, I never used to, I wouldn't even have thought to use a tarot journal originally. I'd sometimes write notes about certain big readings in my Book of Shadows, but I never had heard of the concept of a tarot journal. And then I went through a phase of feeling like I had to have an elaborate journal and write every single card down, even just a single card pull, and I'd have to do the whole elaborate layout on my desk. And now it's like a bit of both. Some of them are like I get all the bells and whistles, and then sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just throw down on my bed. Sometimes I journal loads. Sometimes I write a couple of lines. Sometimes I don't write anything. Just go with it. Anyway, that was a lot. I'll try to keep the music one quick. I don't necessarily listen to anything specific with ritual. I can find music distracting, so the easiest thing for me to listen to is sort of a curated classical music. I like a lot of relaxing piano music, so one of my favorites is Satie, Chopin, Debussy, really sort of relaxing, non-lyrical music. The other thing is I just have like white noise, so I really love the sound of rainstorms, thunderstorms, rain against a tent, rain against a window, rain, you know, like I have like a playlist called Ambiance, and it's just 12 million rain tracks, because you have to have the right kind of rain for the mood, to set the mood or whatever mood you're in. And that just provides some background noise for my squirrel brain and a little bit of ambiance. and sets a little bit of atmosphere. You know, if you've got a bit of rain and thunderiness going on, it feels a little spooky. And then I'll do my thing. But I've tried, I'm not massively into like quote unquote pagan music. I find a lot of it a little cheesy or not that good. There are some that I like. I really enjoyed Down at the Crossroads podcast, Chris Orapello and Tara Love Maguire, who wrote Bez on the Stag and Sword. Really good book, highly recommend it. Their podcast features not only interviews with prominent pagans and witches and magical practitioners, but it also highlights it. Well, they play music as well, and I've actually found some music that I enjoy via there, but I don't really go out of my way to sort of listen to it. In my personal life, as in when I'm not making music, I listen to all sorts, but mostly like OG stuff that I'd listen to is a lot of gothic kind of music, because that's my roots. So London After Midnight, The Cure, Bauhaus, The Smiths, Susie Sue, Alien Sex Fiend, all that good stuff. And then Sisters of Mercy. Oh my god, there's so many. I love a bit of metal. I absolutely love Metallica. I've seen them live. I love AC/DC. I've seen them live. I like, you know, I love me some like metal and heavy metal and rock. I love pop, like late 90s, early noughties pop. I absolutely love psych and 60s, like yeah, 60s and 70s psych, some of that, glam rock. So much music at the moment. Oh, I love, like, I do like what I guess you could kind of cast them pagan music, but not really. Wardruna, and Aurora, and like Norwegian bands. Really enjoying Norwegian bands. And I really enjoy Calandra. They're really good. They did a beautiful cover of Wardruna's Helvigen. Highly recommend that. Go check that out. And the, oh my god, the live version of Helvigen, with not the one at the caves, but the one on the stage with the red background. It's a video up on YouTube. It's amazing. But it's Wardruna with Aurora. That gives me goosebumps. Oh my god. So I listen to that, but I'm really into like 80s synth as well, because I'm a child of the 80s, which is also, I guess, where the love of the like gothy music as well. 80s goth, 80s synth, 80s new romantic. But there's modern bands that do a lot of dark wave and synth, and my current favourite is Gunship. Absolutely love Gunship. And then a UK based band, London based band that I enjoy and have seen live, and they're more like a local folks, are Fight Milk. They're really fun. They have a lot of sort of poppy 80s vibes to their music. I highly recommend them. Anyway, this is nearly half an hour. Each one is getting longer. See what I mean? As I get back into making videos, the ramble is unleashed. So that is days 10 to 12. I'm gonna have a sip of water. Ow, fuck. And then I'm gonna probably record another one, so you'll see me in this same get up. But you know, as long as I'm answering them and putting them up, I'm doing the challenge, right? Froggy frog. Excuse me. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to comment down below with your thoughts and ideas and answers to these prompts if you like. Really appreciate you watching. So yeah, you look after yourselves, take care, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully, if you want. You don't have to, obviously. Ciao.